Zekthor sat alone in the dark corner of a station bar, his forearms folded against his chest. The lighting was low, which suited him perfectly. He preferred shadows to bright lights. It made him feel safe, hidden, even when he was not using his special skin that could turn invisible. He was Vexkari, a species built for killing. His people were created long ago by scientists who wanted the perfect hunters. They gave his ancestors forearms that could move faster than most eyes could see. They gave them skin that could change color to match any background. They gave them brains that could think through problems in seconds that would take others hours to solve. Zekthor had been doing this work for 300 years. 300 years of taking contracts, finding targets, and ending lives. He had killed warlords who ruled entire planets with cruelty. He had eliminated corporate bosses who poisoned worlds for profit. He had removed political leaders who started wars that killed millions. His record was perfect. Every contract completed. Every target eliminated. No failures. Not one. But he was tired now. His reflexes were still sharp, his mind still quick, but something inside him had grown weary. He wanted to retire, to find some quiet world where he could live out his remaining years in peace. Maybe buy a small home near water. His species liked water. It reminded them of their original homeworld before the wars destroyed it. He needed one more job, one final contract that would pay enough for him to disappear forever. Enough credits to buy that house, that peace, that quiet ending to a violent life. The hologram projector on his table flickered to life. A face appeared, distorted to hide identity. This was normal. Clients never showed themselves directly. Zekthor, the voice said, mechanically altered. We have a contract for you. I am listening. Zekthor replied, his voice a low rasp. His species did not have vocal cords like humans. They had something different that made their words sound like wind through broken glass. The target is human. Name: Danny Carter. Age: 32 standard years. Occupation: geological surveyor. Currently located on mining colony Outpost 7 in the Terran expanse. Zekthor felt something cold move through his chest. A human. He had killed many species in his long career, but humans were always different. They were unpredictable, dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with strength or speed. What did this human do? He asked. That is not your concern, the voice answered. The payment is 15 million credits. Half now, half upon confirmation of elimination. 15 million credits. It was more than enough. It was wealth beyond measure. With that much money, he could buy an entire island on a paradise world. He could live like a king for the rest of his days. Why so much for a surveyor? Zekthor asked. Something felt wrong. Surveyors were not important people. They looked at rocks and minerals. They made maps. They were not the kind of targets that commanded such enormous payments. The human discovered something. Something that must not be shared. He must be eliminated before he can transmit this information to the Human Alliance government. We have blocked his long-range communications, but that will not hold forever. You have 1 standard week to complete this contract. Who is the client? Zekthor asked, though he knew the answer would not come. Anonymous, as always. Do you accept? Zekthor thought for a long moment. 15 million credits. His freedom, his peace. 1 human life in exchange for everything he wanted. I accept, he said. The hologram vanished. A moment later, his personal data pad beeped. The first payment had arrived. 7.5 million credits. Transferred to his secure account. The contract file downloaded automatically. Pictures of Danny Carter, his daily routine, his known associates, his living quarters, everything Zekthor needed to plan the kill. He studied the images carefully. Carter looked ordinary. He had brown hair that was a bit too long, like he forgot to cut it. He had a friendly face, the kind that smiled easily. In one picture, he was laughing at something. His head thrown back, he looked like someone who enjoyed life, someone who had never hurt anyone. Zekthor pushed that thought away. He could not afford to think about targets as people. That was rule number one for assassins. Targets were not people. They were problems to be solved, objects to be removed. If he started thinking of them as living beings with families and friends and dreams, he would hesitate. And hesitation meant failure. Failure meant death. He began planning immediately. The mining colony was small, only about 2,000 inhabitants. It was on a world with thin atmosphere, which meant everyone lived in sealed habitats. Security would be minimal. These frontier colonies rarely had serious protection. They relied on being too remote, too unimportant to bother attacking. Carter lived alone in a small housing unit on the edge of the main settlement. He worked alone too, taking his survey ship out to nearby asteroids and moons to study mineral deposits. He had no family on the colony, no close friends that the file mentioned. He was perfect, isolated, vulnerable, easy. Zekthor booked passage on a cargo freighter heading toward the Terran expanse. He traveled under a false identity, which was simple enough. His camouflage skin could make him look like almost any species if he wore the right clothing. He chose to appear as a Kryn trader, a common enough sight on cargo ships that no one would look twice. The journey took 4 days. Zekthor spent the time reviewing the contract file, memorizing every detail about Danny Carter. He learned that Carter had been a surveyor for 8 years. Before that, he had studied geology at some human university. He had no criminal record, no political affiliations, no obvious enemies. He was, by all accounts, a normal person doing a normal job, which made this contract even stranger. Normal people did not get 15 million credit bounties on their heads. Normal people did not threaten powerful interests enough to require elimination. What had this surveyor found? What information was worth so much money to suppress? Zekthor told himself it did not matter. His job was not to understand. His job was to kill. Simple, clean. The cargo freighter docked at Outpost 7 on schedule. Zekthor disembarked with the other passengers, his false identity unchallenged. The colony was exactly as the file described. Small, rough, built for function, not comfort. The main habitat was a series of connected domes, each one housing different functions: residential, commercial, industrial, all linked by pressurized tunnels. He rented a small room in the visitor quarters and began his surveillance. He watched Carter from a distance, noting his patterns. The human woke early every morning. He ate breakfast at the same small cafe. He checked his equipment. He flew his survey ship out to whatever rock he was studying that week. He returned in the evening. He ate dinner, usually alone. He went to sleep. For 3 days, Zekthor watched and planned. He identified the weak points in Carter's security. There were many. The human had no security at all, really. His door had a basic lock that Zekthor could bypass in seconds. His windows could be opened from outside. His schedule was predictable. He was completely unaware of any danger. On the 4th night, Zekthor decided to act. He waited until the colony was quiet, until most people were asleep. Then he activated his camouflage skin and moved through the shadows like smoke. No one saw him. No sensors detected him. He was invisible, silent, perfect. He reached Carter's housing unit and slipped inside through a maintenance hatch. The interior was dark and quiet. He could hear breathing from the bedroom. Slow, deep, the breathing of someone sleeping peacefully. Zekthor moved closer, his plasma blade ready in one of his 4 hands. This would be quick, painless. Carter would never wake up. It was the kindest way to kill someone. Zekthor froze. In 300 years of killing, no one had ever detected him while he was using full camouflage. It was impossible. His technology was the best in the galaxy. His stealth systems could fool military-grade sensors. His skin could match any background perfectly. No living being could see him when he did not want to be seen. Yet this human was looking directly at him. Not searching the room with confused eyes. Not panicking. Just looking at him with calm certainty, as if Zekthor was standing there in plain view. The assassin's mind raced through possibilities. Hidden sensors in the room? No, his scanner would have detected them. Thermal imaging? His suit masked his heat signature. Motion detectors? He had moved too slowly, too carefully. There was no technological explanation for how this human knew he was there. How did you know? Zekthor asked, keeping his blade ready. This could be a trap. There could be security forces waiting outside, ready to rush in. Danny Carter sat up slowly in bed, moving his hands where Zekthor could see them. Empty. No weapons. I felt you, the human said simply. When you came through the maintenance hatch, there was a tiny pressure change in the air. When you walked across the floor, there was a small vibration. When you stood over my bed, I could feel warmth from your body, even through your suit. That is impossible, Zekthor said. Those changes are too small for any biological being to detect. Carter shrugged and smiled slightly. Humans evolved as hunters on our world. We learn to notice things. Small things. Our conscious minds might miss them, but our subconscious never does. It is called pattern recognition. Our brains are very good at it. He paused. Also, you smell different from the normal air in my room. Not bad. Just different. My brain noticed. Zekthor felt something he had not experienced in many years. Uncertainty. This was not going according to plan. Targets were not supposed to be awake. They were not supposed to be calm. They were especially not supposed to offer coffee to their assassins. You should be afraid, Zekthor said. Probably, Carter agreed. But fear will not help me right now, so I am choosing to be calm instead. He stood up from the bed, still moving slowly and carefully. He was wearing simple sleeping clothes. No armor. No hidden weapons that Zekthor could detect. The coffee offer is real, by the way. I make good coffee. Learned from my grandmother. She was very particular about coffee. Against every instinct in his trained mind, Zekthor found himself curious. Why would you offer coffee to someone sent to kill you? Because you have not killed me yet, Carter said, walking toward his small kitchen area. You could have done it while I slept. Quick. Clean. Painless. But you hesitated when I woke up. That tells me something about you. He began preparing the coffee maker, his back to Zekthor. Completely vulnerable. Completely trusting. Or completely insane. It tells you nothing, Zekthor said, but he did not strike. He should. This was the perfect moment. The human was distracted, exposed. One quick movement and the contract would be complete. But he did not move. Carter filled the coffee maker with water and added ground beans. The smell began to fill the small room. Rich. Dark. Strange, but not unpleasant. It tells me you are not just a mindless killer, the human said. It tells me you think about what you do. Maybe even have doubts sometimes. I do not have doubts, Zekthor lied. Everyone has doubts, Carter said. It is what makes us alive instead of machines. The coffee maker began to brew with a soft, bubbling sound. You are here because of what I found. Correct? The information I discovered about the Korvax consortium? Zekthor said nothing, but his silence was answer enough. Carter nodded. I thought so. They have been trying to block my communications for 2 weeks now. I knew they would send someone eventually. I just did not know it would be you. The famous Zekthor, the perfect assassin, never failed a contract. He poured 2 cups of coffee and turned around, holding them both. Until maybe now? I have not failed, Zekthor said. You are not dead yet. But you will be, maybe, Carter said, walking over and setting 1 cup on the table near Zekthor. But first, hear what I have to say. If you still want to kill me after that, I will not stop you. I cannot stop you. You are faster, stronger, better trained. If you decide I must die, then I will die. But at least let me explain why the Korvax want me dead. Zekthor should have refused, should have completed the contract. But something in this human's calm certainty made him pause. He had killed many targets over the centuries. Some had begged, some had fought. Some had tried to bribe him, but none had ever just offered to explain themselves over coffee. He deactivated his plasma blade and picked up the cup. The liquid inside was hot and dark. He brought it to where his mouth was hidden behind his facial plates and tasted it. Bitter. Strong. Strangely pleasant. "Talk," he said. Carter sat down across from him, holding his own cup. 3 months ago, I was surveying an asteroid field in the Kelvin sector. Standard work. Looking for valuable minerals, but I found something strange. Trace elements that should not exist naturally in that region of space. Elements that are byproducts of mining operations. Someone had mined there before, Zekthor said. Exactly. But there were no records of any mining in that sector. Ever. So, I got curious. I started following the trail. Looking for where those trace elements came from. It led me to more asteroids, then to moons, then to planets. All of them with the same thing. Evidence of old mining operations that were never recorded. Never reported. Deliberately hidden. Zekthor listened. His analytical mind processing the information. What were they mining? Helion 3, Carter said quietly. Massive deposits. Easily accessible. Enough to power the entire galaxy for 1,000 years. All of it hidden by the Korvax Consortium. The implications hit Zekthor like a physical blow. Helion 3 was the primary fuel for fusion reactors. It powered ships, stations, entire planets. The Korvax controlled 90% of the known Helion 3 supply. They set the prices. They decided who got fuel and who did not. They were one of the wealthiest organizations in the galaxy because of their monopoly. And if there were massive hidden deposits, easily accessible deposits, then that monopoly was built on lies. They have been maintaining artificial scarcity, Carter continued. For 200 years, they have been telling everyone that Helion 3 is rare and difficult to extract. They charge enormous prices because they claim supply is limited, but it is not limited. They just hide the real deposits and only extract from a few controlled sites. How much money are we talking about? Zekthor asked. Trillions of credits per year, Carter said. Charged to billions of people across hundreds of worlds. All based on a lie. He took a sip of his coffee. I have the evidence. Survey data. Mineral compositions. Locations. Everything needed to prove what they have been doing. Zekthor understood now why the contract was worth 15 million credits. This information could destroy the Korvax Consortium. It could destabilize the entire galactic economy. It could start wars. Carter was not just a surveyor who found something interesting. He was holding a bomb that could reshape civilization. You must know they will never let you live, Zekthor said. Even if I do not kill you, they will send others. Better equipped. More numerous. They will burn this entire colony to ash, to ensure you and your data are destroyed. I know, Carter said simply. But some things are more important than staying alive. Billions of people are suffering because of Korvax greed. Entire worlds cannot afford adequate power. People die in the cold. Children go hungry because food production costs too much energy. Also, a few Korvax families can be wealthy beyond measure. He looked directly at Zekthor. Would you not risk your life to stop that? To help those people? Zekthor had no answer. In his long career, he had never thought much about the bigger implications of his work. Someone paid him. He killed the target. The reasons were not his concern, but now, facing this calm human who was willing to die for strangers he would never meet, the assassin felt something uncomfortable stirring in his chest. Doubt. I have a job to do, Zekthor said, but the words sounded hollow even to him. You have a choice to make, Carter corrected gently. You can kill me and collect your payment. Retire wealthy. Live in peace. No one would blame you. It is what you were hired to do. He paused. Or you can help me get this information to someone who can use it, someone who will not be bought or threatened, someone who will release it to the public and end the Korvax monopoly. Why would I do that? Zekthor asked. Zekthor did not leave that night. He stayed in Danny Carter's small apartment, drinking coffee and listening to the human explain his findings in greater detail. Carter showed him data files, survey maps, chemical analysis reports. All of it pointed to the same conclusion. The Korvax had been lying to the galaxy for 2 centuries. As the local sun began to rise outside the window, painting the barren landscape in shades of orange and red, Zekthor found himself facing a decision he had never expected to make. Everything in his training told him to complete the contract, kill the target, collect the payment, move on. It was simple, clean, the way he had lived for 300 years. But nothing about this felt simple anymore. Show me your evidence again, Zekthor said. All of it. Carter pulled up the files on his data terminal. This is the asteroid field where I first noticed something wrong. See these mineral traces? They are waste products from Helion-3 extraction, but according to all official records, no one has ever mined in this sector. Zekthor studied the data with his enhanced analytical mind. The evidence was solid, undeniable. How many sites like this have you found? 47, Carter said. And I only searched a small region of space. If this pattern continues across the galaxy, there could be thousands of hidden deposits. Maybe more. Olo, who else knows about this? Just you and me, Carter replied. I tried to send the data to the Human Alliance 3 weeks ago, but my transmission was blocked. Since then, the Korvax have been jamming all my long-range communications. I am trapped here until I can find a way to get the information out. Zekthor processed this information. If the Korvax were jamming communications, that meant they knew what Carter had found. They were trying to contain the situation. Sending an assassin was their next step. If Zekthor failed or refused, they would escalate. More assassins. Maybe a military strike disguised as a pirate raid. They had the resources and the motivation. You cannot stay here, Zekthor said. If I report you dead without proof, they will send someone to verify. When they discover you are alive, they will destroy this entire colony to eliminate you and any witnesses. Carter's face went pale. The colony? But there are 2,000 people here. Families, children. The Korvax will not care, Zekthor said. 2,000 lives are nothing compared to the trillions of credits they stand to lose if your information becomes public. For the first time since Zekthor had met him, Carter looked genuinely afraid. Not for himself, but for the innocent people around him. We have to warn them. We have to evacuate. There is no time, Zekthor said. And where would they go? This is a mining colony. Most of these people have nowhere else. They came here because they were desperate for work. He stood up, his forearms moving in agitation. There is only one solution. You must reach someone in the Human Alliance who can protect you and release your information before the Korvax can stop it. Senator Lisa Grant, Carter said immediately. She chairs the Energy Committee. I have followed her career. She cannot be bought. She has spent years investigating corporate corruption. If anyone will help, it will be her. Where is she? The capital world. Earth. 3 weeks travel from here by commercial transport. Zekthor calculated quickly. The Korvax will be monitoring all transportation from this colony. They will have agents at every major station between here and Earth. We would never make it on a commercial ship. He paused, thinking. But I have my own ship. Small. Fast. Built for stealth. We could reach Earth in 10 days if we push the engines. Carter stared at him. You are helping me? Really helping me? I am considering it, Zekthor said carefully. But understand this, human. If I help you, I am ending my career. The Korvax will mark me as a traitor. Other clients will never trust me again. I will lose everything I have built over 3 centuries. I know, Carter said quietly, and I cannot pay you anything close to what you are giving up. I am just a surveyor. I have maybe 10,000 credits in savings. Zekthor laughed. A strange rasping sound. 10,000 credits. against 15 million. He walked to the window and looked out at the rising sun. Do you know what I have done for money, Danny Carter? I have ended lives. Hundreds of them. Thousands, perhaps. I told myself it was necessary. That I only killed those who deserved it. But the truth is, I killed because I was paid to kill. He turned back to face the human. But you are willing to die for free. Not for money. Not for power. Just because you think it is right. Your species is strange. Humans are weak. You have no natural weapons. No armor. No special abilities. Yet you do things that more powerful species would never dare. We are stubborn, Carter said with a small smile. It is our best and worst quality. Stubborn, Zekthor repeated. Yes, that is a good word for it. He made his decision. I will help you reach Senator Grant. Not because you can pay me. Not because I expect gratitude, but because for once in my very long life, I want to do something that matters for reasons other than credits. Carter stood and extended his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Zekthor looked at it for a moment, then reached out with one of his 4 hands and grasped it. The human's skin was warm, soft, nothing like the hardened scales of a Vex Carry. Fragile. Thank you, Carter said. You will not regret this. I already regret it, Zekthor said, but I am doing it anyway. They left the colony 2 hours later. Zekthor returned to his ship, which was docked in a private hangar on the edge of the settlement. It was a sleek vessel, designed for speed and stealth, rather than comfort. There was barely room for 2 people in the cramped interior. Carter brought only a small bag, with his essential belongings and his data files. Everything else, he left behind. His apartment, his survey equipment, his life. As they prepared for departure, Zekthor checked his sensor systems. There are 3 ships in orbit that were not here when I arrived. Korvax registry. They are watching the colony. Can we slip past them? Carter asked. My ship has advanced stealth systems. If we launch during the daily ore transport, we can hide in the sensor shadow of the larger ships. By the time the Korvax realize we are gone, we will be too far away to intercept. They waited for the right moment. When the massive ore haulers began their daily departure, carrying processed minerals to the refinery stations in orbit, Zekthor launched his ship. The small craft slipped out of the hangar and tucked itself close to one of the huge transports, matching its speed and trajectory. The Korvax ships did not react. Their sensors saw only the expected ore hauler, not the tiny stealth ship hiding in its shadow. Once they were clear of the colony's orbital space, Zekthor broke away from the transport and engaged his faster-than-light drive. The stars stretched into lines of light, and they left Outpost 7 behind. For the first few hours, neither of them spoke much. Carter sat in the passenger seat, watching the strange patterns of hyperspace through the window. Zekthor monitored their course and checked for any signs of pursuit. Finally, Carter broke the silence. Can I ask you something? You may ask. I may not answer. Why did you become an assassin? Zekthor was quiet for a long moment. My species was created to be soldiers. Weapons. When the war that made us ended, most Vex Carry did not know what to do. We were built for combat. It was all we knew. Some became mercenaries. Some became security forces. I became an assassin because it paid well and allowed me to work alone. Do you have family? Vex Carry do not form traditional family bonds like humans do. We are grown in artificial wombs, raised in training facilities. I had batchmates, others grown at the same time, but we scattered across the galaxy after our maturation. I have not seen any of them in 200 years. That sounds lonely, Carter said. I never thought about it that way. Loneliness is a concept I do not fully understand. We were trained to be independent, self-sufficient. Carter nodded slowly. Humans need other people. We go crazy without social contact. Even the most independent of us need someone to talk to sometimes. He smiled. I guess that is why I talk so much. Occupational hazard of working alone in space. You do talk considerably, Zekthor agreed. But it is not unpleasant. They fell into a routine over the following days. Carter would sleep in the passenger seat, which reclined into a makeshift bed. Zekthor needed less sleep than humans, so he piloted the ship through most of the night cycles. During the day, they talked. Carter told stories about his life. Growing up on a farm world. Studying geology. His first job surveying asteroid fields. His grandmother who made good coffee. Zekthor found himself sharing stories too. Missions he had completed. Worlds he had visited. The strange customs of different species. It was odd. He had never talked this much to anyone before. Assassins were solitary by nature. Conversation was a security risk. The less people knew about you, the safer you were. But here, hurtling through space with a human surveyor, he found himself talking freely. Maybe it was because they were both risking everything. Maybe it was because Carter listened without judgment, or maybe it was simply that, after 300 years of silence, Zekthor had things he needed to say. On the 5th day of their journey, the ship's sensors detected something. A vessel following them. Fast. Military-grade engines. "We have company," Zekthor announced, checking his displays. "One ship. Korvax design. It must have picked up our trail somehow." Carter moved to look at the sensor readout. "Can we outrun it?" "Not at our current speed. My ship is designed for stealth, not racing." Zekthor calculated their options. "But we are approaching the Nexus trade routes, heavily trafficked space. If we can reach there, we can lose ourselves among the commercial traffic. How long until we reach the trade routes?" 3 hours. Maybe less if I push the engines. And how long until that ship catches us? Zekthor did the math. 4 hours. He diverted all available power to the engines, pushing his ship to its limits. The frame shook slightly from the stress. Warning lights flickered on his control panel. The engines were overheating, but they flew faster. Carter gripped his seat as the ship vibrated around them. "Is this thing going to hold together?" "Probably," Zekthor said. 60% probability. Maybe 70. That is not very comforting. I am not designed to provide comfort. I am designed to survive. But even as he said it, Zekthor found himself hoping the ship would hold. Not just for his own survival, but for Carter's. The human had trusted him, had believed in him when he could have run or fought. Zekthor did not want to fail that trust. They stopped at a refueling station in the Nexus trade zone. The ship needed maintenance after being pushed so hard. And both of them needed rest. Zekthor chose a station that catered to smugglers and traders who valued privacy. No one asked questions here. No one looked too closely at passenger manifests or cargo holds. While the ship was being serviced, they sat in a small cafe that overlooked the docking bays. Through the wide windows, they could see hundreds of ships coming and going, each one carrying people with their own stories, their own destinations, their own dreams. "I have been thinking," Carter said, stirring his coffee slowly. "Even if we reach Senator Grant, even if she agrees to help, the Korvax will not just give up. They will fight this with everything they have. Political pressure, maybe even violence." "I know," Zekthor replied. He was drinking water, having decided that coffee was acceptable but not preferable to his species. "They have too much to lose. The information you carry will destroy them. They will do anything to prevent that. People could die because of what I found. Good people who are just trying to help. People are already dying." Zekthor pointed out. "You said it yourself. Worlds without adequate power. Children going hungry because energy costs make food production too expensive. The Korvax greed has been killing people for 200 years. At least now there is a chance to stop it." Carter nodded but looked troubled. "I just never expected any of this when I took that surveying job. I thought I would spend my days looking at rocks. Maybe find some valuable mineral deposits, make a decent living. Instead, I found something that turned my whole life upside down." "Life is rarely what we expect," Zekthor said. "I thought I would spend my entire existence killing targets for money. I never expected to be sitting in a cafe with a human surveyor, planning how to destroy one of the most powerful organizations in the galaxy." That made Carter smile slightly. We make a strange team. Very strange. Zekthor agreed. They were interrupted by a commotion near the cafe entrance. A group of security officers was checking identification papers, stopping people, and asking questions. One of them held a data pad that showed images of faces. Carter started to stand, but Zekthor put one of his hands on the human's arm. Do not move. Do not draw attention. The security officers were working their way through the cafe, checking each table. When they reached Zekthor and Carter, one of them looked at his data pad, then at Carter's face, then back at the pad. You, the officer said, pointing at Carter. Come with us. Zekthor's mind raced. These were not Korvax agents, they were station security. Which meant someone had reported Carter as wanted. A bounty, perhaps. Or a false criminal charge. The Korvax had many ways to manipulate local authorities. What is the problem? Zekthor asked calmly. This human is wanted for questioning regarding stolen corporate data, the officer said. We have orders to detain him. I am afraid that is not possible, Zekthor said. His tone was polite, but firm. The officer's hand moved toward his weapon. This is not a negotiation. Station security has authority here. Zekthor moved faster than the human eye could follow. One hand disarmed the officer. Another hand struck a pressure point that dropped the guard unconscious. His third hand caught the falling body before it hit the floor, lowering it gently. His fourth hand had already activated his personal shield generator. The other security officers reached for their weapons, but Zekthor was already moving. He did not kill them. These were not enemies, just people doing their jobs based on false information. He disarmed them, disabled them, left them alive but unable to pursue. The entire fight lasted less than 10 seconds. We need to leave, Zekthor said to Carter, who was staring in shock at the unconscious officers scattered around them. Now, they ran. Through the station corridors, dodging startled civilians and confused merchants. Alarms began to sound behind them. More security forces would be coming. The station would go into lockdown soon. They reached the docking bay where Zekthor's ship was berthed. The maintenance crew was just finishing the repairs. Zekthor paid them double the agreed price in exchange for immediate clearance. Credits transferred, hatches sealed, engines powered up. Station security arrived at the docking bay just as the ship lifted off. Weapons fire sparked against the hull. But Zekthor's shields held. They blasted out of the hangar and into the crowded space lanes. They will alert other stations, Carter said, breathing hard from the running. We are marked now. Everyone will be looking for us. Let them look, Zekthor said, plotting a new course. We are not stopping at any more stations. We have enough fuel to reach Earth. It will be uncomfortable. But we will make it. For the next 3 days, they flew without rest. Zekthor pushed himself to the limits of his endurance, staying awake and alert through sheer will. Carter tried to help by monitoring sensors and managing non-critical systems, but he was not trained for this. He made mistakes. Small ones, but in space, small mistakes could be fatal. On the 4th day, exhaustion finally caught up with Zekthor. His hands began to shake slightly on the controls. His vision blurred at the edges. Even with his enhanced biology, he had limits. You need to sleep, Carter said. Even for a few hours. We cannot stop, Zekthor insisted. If I sleep, I cannot pilot. If I cannot pilot, we drift. If we drift, we are vulnerable. Then teach me, Carter said. Zekthor looked at him. You want to pilot my ship? I have flown survey ships for 8 years. I know the basics. Teach me enough to keep us on course while you rest. Just a few hours. That is all you need, right? It was insane. Letting an untrained human pilot a sophisticated stealth ship through dangerous space. But Zekthor was making mistakes now too. Judgment errors caused by fatigue. And Carter was right. He only needed a few hours of rest to recover. Very well, Zekthor said. But touch only what I tell you to touch. This ship has weapon systems that could destroy us if activated incorrectly. He spent the next hour teaching Carter the basic controls. navigation, speed regulation, emergency protocols. The human learned quickly, taking notes and asking intelligent questions. Finally, when Zekthor was satisfied that Carter would not accidentally kill them both, he moved to the passenger seat and allowed his eyes to close. Sleep took him almost immediately, dragging him down into darkness. He dreamed. Unusual for his species. Vexkari rarely dreamed, their minds too disciplined even in sleep. But exhaustion had weakened those disciplines, and images flowed through his unconscious mind. He dreamed of his batchmates, the other Vexkari grown at the same time as him. They had trained together, learned together, competed together. Then they had graduated and scattered. He had never seen them again. Never tried to contact them. It was not the Vexkari way, but in his dream, he wondered what they were doing now. Were they still alive? Had they found purpose beyond war and killing? Had any of them ever sat in a cafe with someone they were supposed to kill and decided to help instead? He woke 6 hours later to find the ship still intact and on course. Carter was at the controls, his face tight with concentration but steady. "Any problems?" Zekthor asked. "One ship passed close about 2 hours ago," Carter reported. "Military patrol. I activated the stealth systems like you showed me. They did not see us." Zekthor checked the logs. Carter had done everything correctly. Better than correctly, in fact. The human had good instincts. "You did well," Zekthor said. Carter smiled, clearly pleased by the praise. "Thanks. I was terrified I would mess something up and get us both killed. You did not. That is what matters." They were only 2 days from Earth now. 2 days from Senator Grant. 2 days from completing this impossible mission. But Zekthor knew the hardest part was still ahead. Earth was the heart of human space. It would be heavily defended. The Korvax would have agents there. Maybe even military assets waiting for them. "I need to tell you something," Zekthor said. "When we reach Earth, the Korvax will be waiting. They know we are coming. They will try to stop us before we can reach the Senator." "I know," Carter said quietly. "If we are caught, they will kill me quickly. But you, they will want to interrogate first. Find out if you sent the data anywhere else. Find out who else knows. It will not be pleasant." "I know that too." Zekthor studied the human. "You are still willing to continue?" "Some things are worth the risk," Carter said. "Worth the fear. This is one of those things." He paused. "Besides, I have the galaxy's most feared assassin protecting me. That has to count for something, right?" "Former assassin," Zekthor corrected. "I doubt I will get many contracts after this. So what will you do, after we succeed?" "If we succeed," Zekthor said, "do not assume victory before it is achieved." "Okay, if we succeed, what then?" Zekthor thought about it. He had never really planned beyond retirement. He had always assumed he would find some quiet place and simply exist until his life ended. But now, having spent these days with Carter, having chosen to fight for something beyond money, he realized that simply existing was not enough. "I do not know," he admitted. "Perhaps I will find other people who need help. Use my skills for something other than killing. Like a bodyguard? Perhaps. Or a protector. Someone who stands between the powerful and those they would hurt." The idea felt strange but right. "What about you? Assuming we survive and your information gets released?" Carter laughed. "I will probably need a bodyguard. The Korvax will want revenge. Other corporations I expose will want me dead. I will be the most unpopular person in several sectors. Then perhaps we should stay together," Zekthor suggested. "You seem to have a talent for finding trouble. I have a talent for surviving it. Are you offering to be my permanent bodyguard?" "I am suggesting a partnership. You investigate corruption and expose wrongdoing. I ensure you survive long enough to do so." Zekthor felt something unusual. Hope. "We could do good work together." Carter extended his hand again. "Partners then." Zekthor gripped it with one of his hands. "Partners. They spent the remaining time planning their approach to Earth. The planet was surrounded by defense stations and patrol ships. Landing without authorization was impossible. They needed clearance, which meant contacting someone they could trust. Senator Grant has a private communication channel, Carter said. For people who want to report corruption anonymously. I can send a message there. Let her know we are coming. Do it, but keep it brief. Do not transmit any of your evidence yet. If the Korvax intercept the message, we want them to know nothing except that we are arriving. Carter composed a short message. It simply said that he had information about energy market manipulation and requested an urgent meeting. He included his identity verification, but nothing else. They sent it on a tight beam transmission that would be difficult to intercept. Then, they waited. 6 hours later, a response came back. Not from Senator Grant directly, but from the landing coordinates took them to a private facility on the outskirts of the capital city. As they descended through Earth's atmosphere, Zekthor's sensors detected multiple ships following them, not attacking, just watching, waiting. We have an escort, he told Carter. 6 ships, military configuration. Ours or theirs? Carter asked nervously. Unknown. They are maintaining distance. Professional formation. Could be Human Alliance security, or Korvax mercenaries pretending to be security. The landing pad was surrounded by armed guards. Zekthor counted 20 visible positions, probably more hidden. His tactical mind analyzed the setup automatically. Kill zones. Firing angles. Escape routes. 300 years of training never truly went away. They landed smoothly. The ship's engines powered down. For a moment, neither of them moved. This is it, Carter said quietly. Once we open that hatch, there is no going back. There was no going back the moment I chose not to kill you, Zekthor replied. We are committed now, for better or worse. They opened the hatch together. A woman was waiting at the base of the landing ramp. She was middle-aged by human standards, with gray hair pulled back in a professional style. She wore a simple suit, no weapons visible, but she carried herself with authority. Danny Carter, she asked. Yes, Carter replied, descending the ramp with Zekthor close behind him. I am Patricia Moore, Chief of Staff for Senator Grant. The Senator is waiting for you in a secure conference room. Please follow me. Is she safe? Zekthor asked, his voice a low rasp. Patricia looked at him calmly, showing no fear despite facing a Vex-carry assassin. As safe as anyone can be when dealing with information that could collapse a galactic economy. We have taken precautions. But I will not lie to you. The Korvax know you are here. They have been making threats, offering bribes, calling in political favors. This is going to get messy. I expected nothing less, Zekthor said. They were led through multiple security checkpoints, scanners, identification, verification, biometric analysis. Patricia apologized for the thoroughness, but Zekthor approved. Good security was thorough security. Finally, they reached a conference room deep inside the building. The walls were thick, probably shielded against electronic surveillance. A single woman sat at a large table, reviewing data on a holographic display. Senator Lisa Grant looked up as they entered. She was younger than Zekthor expected, maybe 50 by human standards. Her face showed intelligence and determination. Mr. Carter, she said, standing to greet them. And you must be Zekthor. I admit, when Patricia told me a Vex-carry assassin was escorting you, I had concerns. Your concerns were reasonable, Zekthor said. I was hired to kill Carter. I chose not to. Grant raised an eyebrow. That must be quite a story. But first, Danny, show me what you found. Patricia says you have evidence of Korvax energy market manipulation. Carter pulled out his data storage device and connected it to the conference room's secure terminal. Files began to appear on the holographic display. Survey data. Mineral analysis. Location coordinates. Hundreds of documents, all meticulously organized. 3 months ago, I found evidence of hidden Helion-3 deposits. Carter began. He walked Senator Grant through his findings, explaining each piece of evidence, showing how the pattern emerged. Zekthor watched the senator's face as understanding dawned. Then shock. Then anger. "This is enormous," Grant said, when Carter finished. "If this is accurate, and I have no reason to doubt it is, the Korvax have been committing fraud on a galactic scale for 2 centuries. Trillions of credits extracted from populations across hundreds of worlds based on artificial scarcity. Can you help?" Carter asked. "Can you get this information public before the Korvax suppress it?" Grant was quiet for a long moment, thinking, "I can. But you need to understand what will happen when I do. The galactic economy will convulse. Energy prices will collapse. The Korvax consortium will be destroyed, taking many other businesses with it. There will be chaos, possibly violence. People will lose jobs. Some worlds that depend on Korvax trade relationships will suffer. At least in the short term." "But in the long term," Carter prompted, "in the long term, billions of people will have access to affordable energy. Worlds that could not afford adequate power will finally be able to develop. The stranglehold that a few families have had on galactic commerce will be broken." She smiled grimly. "It will be painful, but necessary. Like surgery to remove a cancer." "Then you will do it?" Carter asked hopefully. "I will. But not just through official channels. The Korvax have too many politicians in their pocket. Too many judges. Too many bureaucrats. If I go through normal procedures, this will get buried in legal challenges for decades." She turned to Patricia. "Prepare simultaneous releases to every major independent media outlet in human space and beyond. I want this information everywhere at once. Make it impossible to suppress." Patricia nodded and left the room, already making calls on her personal communicator. Grant turned back to Carter and Zekthor. "The Korvax are going to come after all of us for this. You two especially. Do you have somewhere safe to go?" "No," Carter admitted. "I had not thought that far ahead." "Typical," Grant said, but she smiled. "Patricia will arrange protection for you. Safe house. New identities if necessary. Whatever you need." "I do not need protection," Zekthor said. "I am protection." Grant studied him thoughtfully. A Vex-carry assassin turned bodyguard. That is a career change. She paused. "I could use someone like you. My work makes powerful enemies. I have had 6 assassination attempts in the last 3 years. My current security is good but not great." "Are you offering me employment?" Zekthor asked. "I am offering you a chance to use your skills for something other than killing. You would protect me. Help me investigate corruption. Maybe train my security team. In exchange, I pay you well and give you legal immunity for your past work." It was a good offer. Better than Zekthor had any right to expect. But he looked at Carter before answering. They had become partners. He would not abandon that. "I appreciate the offer," Zekthor said, "but I have already made a commitment. Carter and I work together now." Grant smiled. "Even better. I need investigators too. People who can go places I cannot. Find evidence that normal channels miss. What do you say? Both of you work for me. Carter investigates. Zekthor protects. You expose corruption. I turn it into legislation and prosecution." Carter looked at Zekthor. Zekthor looked at Carter. Some communication passed between them without words. Then, they both nodded. "We accept," Carter said. Over the next 2 hours, Patricia returned with news of the data release. It was spreading like fire across the communication networks. Human space first. Then Kryn territories. Then the independent systems. Within 6 hours, every major media outlet in the galaxy would have the complete evidence of Korvax manipulation. There was no way to stop it now. As they were preparing to leave for the safe house Patricia had arranged, alarms began to sound. Security officers rushed through the hallways. Patricia burst into the conference room, her face pale. "We have a situation. 20 armed individuals just breached the perimeter. Korvax security forces. They are demanding we turn over Carter and the data." "Tell them the data is already public," Grant said calmly. "Killing Carter accomplishes nothing now." "I tried. They are not listening. I think this is revenge, not suppression." Zekthor moved to the door. How many security personnel do we have? 30. But these are office guards, not combat soldiers. Your attackers are professionals. Then we are evenly matched, Zekthor said. 20 professionals against 1 Vex carry. And 30 guards, who are defending their home ground. You cannot fight 20 trained soldiers alone, Grant protested. I am not alone, Zekthor said. And I am not fighting them. I am protecting you while you evacuate. He turned to Carter. Get the Senator and Patricia to the emergency transport. There should be one on the roof. What about you? Carter asked. I will delay them. Buy you time. Then I will follow. Carter grabbed Zekthor's arm. Do not die doing this. We have a partnership, remember? Partners watch each other's backs. Zekthor felt something warm in his chest at those words. I do not intend to die. I have survived for 300 years. I am very good at not dying. He pushed Carter gently toward the door. Now go. As Carter led Senator Grant and Patricia toward the emergency evacuation route, Zekthor moved through the building to intercept the attackers. He could hear them advancing, professional and coordinated. They were sweeping floor by floor, eliminating resistance methodically. He activated his camouflage and became invisible. Then he began to hunt. The first attacker never knew what hit him. Zekthor struck from behind. A precise blow that rendered the soldier unconscious without killing. He moved to the next. Then, the next. His 4 arms made him devastating in close combat. While 2 arms struck, 2 more defended. While 1 disabled an opponent, another was already targeting the next threat. The Korvax soldiers began to panic. Their companions were falling to an invisible enemy. They fired wildly, hitting walls and each other. Zekthor used their confusion, turning their formation against itself, but there were many of them, and even he could not be everywhere at once. 1 soldier got lucky, spraying fire in a wide arc that clipped Zekthor's shoulder. Pain flared, hot and bright. His camouflage flickered as his concentration broke. The soldiers saw him now. Concentrated their fire. Zekthor dove for cover behind a structural support column. His shoulder burned where the energy weapon had grazed him. Not serious, but it would slow him down. He heard footsteps approaching. 2 soldiers moving to flank his position. Standard tactics. He prepared to move. To fight. To survive. Then gunfire erupted from a different direction. The 2 flanking soldiers went down. Zekthor looked up to see building security guards advancing, laying down covering fire. Not professionals, but brave, defending their workplace and their leaders. Together, they pushed back the Korvax assault. It took 20 minutes of fierce fighting, but finally the attackers retreated. Those who could still walk fled. Those who could not were taken into custody. Zekthor emerged from cover, his shoulder still bleeding. A security guard approached with a medical kit. Let me see that, the guard said. It is not serious, Zekthor replied. You just saved all our lives. Least I can do is bandage you up. As the guard worked on his shoulder, Zekthor's communicator chirped. Carter's voice came through. Zekthor, are you alive? I am alive, injured, but functional. The attackers have been repelled. Thank God. We are at the transport now. Come up to the roof. We are not leaving without you. Zekthor made his way to the roof. His shoulder hurt, but he had suffered worse. Much worse. When he emerged onto the landing pad, Carter ran to him, checking the bandage with worried eyes. You are bleeding, Carter said unnecessarily. I am also alive. That is what matters. Senator Grant approached them. That was incredibly brave. Stupid, but brave. You saved our lives. I was doing my job, Zekthor said simply. Well, your job just got more interesting. The data release is complete. Every news service in known space has it now. The Korvax consortium stock has collapsed. Their executives are being arrested. Governments are launching investigations. You did it, Danny. You actually did it. Carter looked stunned. It worked? Really worked? It worked. Energy prices are already dropping. Worlds are celebrating. There will be economic chaos for a while. But we will get through it. And at the end, billions of people will have better lives because of what you found and what you dared to do. As they boarded the transport that would take them to safety, Zekthor looked back at Earth. This strange world that had produced creatures like Danny Carter. Physically weak, short-lived, but possessed of a stubborn determination that could change galaxies. Humans were remarkable. Not despite their weaknesses, but because of how they overcame them. 3 months later, Zekthor stood on a balcony overlooking a terraformed park in New Seattle. The city sprawled below, its lights reflecting off the waters of the Sound. Earth was beautiful in ways he had not expected. Peaceful, gentle, so different from the harsh worlds where he had spent most of his long life. Carter joined him, carrying 2 cups, coffee for himself, water for Zekthor. "Big day tomorrow," Carter said. "Our first official investigation for Senator Grant. Rumor of illegal weapons sales in the outer colonies." "I am ready," Zekthor said. "Are you happy?" Carter asked suddenly. "With this new life? Working for the good guys instead of working for whoever pays?" Zekthor thought about it. For 300 years, he had been alone. He had killed for money without question. He had no friends, no purpose beyond the next contract. It had been a simple life, efficient, empty. Now he had a partner. He had work that meant something. He had purpose beyond credits and contracts. It was complicated, difficult, meaningful. "Yes," he said finally. "I am happy. Your species has a saying, I believe, about old dogs and new tricks?" Carter laughed. "You can't teach an old dog new tricks. But that is wrong. You proved it wrong. You learned. You changed. You chose something better." "I had a good teacher," Zekthor said, looking at his human partner. "You showed me that strength is not just about speed or skill. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is choose what is right, even when it costs you everything." "We both lost things," Carter said. "My quiet life. Your reputation. Your retirement credits. But we gained something better. Purpose. Friendship. A chance to make the galaxy a little less corrupt." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the alien city. Tomorrow they would hunt weapons dealers. Next week, corrupt politicians. Next month, who knew what corruption they would uncover? The galaxy was full of problems. Full of powerful people who hurt those weaker than themselves. But now, it also had 2 unlikely partners working to stop them. A human surveyor who would not be silenced, and a Vexkari assassin who had learned there were things more valuable than credits. "Thank you," Carter said quietly, "for not killing me that first night. Thank you for teaching me that some targets are worth protecting instead," Zekthor replied. As darkness fell over Earth, the galaxy's most feared assassin stood beside the human who had changed everything. His last job had become his first step toward redemption, and it had taken a stubborn, brave, impossible human to show him the way. The future was uncertain. The work would be dangerous. But for the first time in 300 years, Zekthor looked forward to tomorrow. Not because he had to, because he wanted to, and that made all the difference. Her chief of staff. The message provided coordinates for a secure landing facility outside the capital city. They were expected. "It could be a trap," Zekthor warned. "I know," Carter said, "but it is also our only chance." They plotted their approach vector carefully. Zekthor planned multiple escape routes in case things went wrong. He checked his weapons systems. He reviewed emergency protocols. He did everything he could to prepare for what was coming. As Earth grew larger in the view screen, its blue oceans and white clouds beautiful against the black of space, Zekthor felt something he had not experienced in a very long time. He felt like he was doing something that mattered. Not for money. Not for reputation. But because it was right. And if he died doing it, at least it would be for a worthy cause. The engines screamed as they pushed beyond their rated capacity. The pursuing ship gained slowly but steadily. 3.5 hours. 3 hours. 2.5. Then, ahead of them, the space began to fill with ships. Hundreds of them. Massive cargo haulers. Sleek passenger liners. Military escorts. Private vessels of every size and shape. The Nexus trade routes, one of the busiest areas of space in the galaxy. Zekthor dove into the traffic, weaving between larger ships with the precision only a Vex carry could manage. His forehands moved across the controls faster than Carter could follow, making micro-adjustments to their course. The pursuing ship slowed, unable to match Zekthor's reckless maneuvering without risking collision. It fell back, lost among the sea of other vessels. They had escaped. For now. Carter smiled. Because I have read about you, Zekthor. I researched you when I realized someone would come. Your targets over the years, they have a pattern. Corrupt politicians, crime lords, corporate executives who poison worlds. You do not just kill random people. You kill those who hurt others. Those who abuse power. He leaned forward slightly. When was the last time your target was just someone trying to help people? Someone trying to do the right thing? The question hung in the air between them. Zekthor thought back through his long memory. Carter was right. Every contract he had ever taken, the target had been someone who deserved their fate. Even when he did not know all the details, there was always a reason. Always some crime or cruelty that justified the killing. Until now. I need time to think, Zekthor said finally. Carter nodded. Take all the time you need. I will be here. I am not running. He raised his coffee cup slightly. Want more coffee while you think? He stood over the bed, looking down at the sleeping human. In the dim light from the window, Carter looked even younger than his 32 years. Peaceful. Innocent. Zekthor raised his blade, preparing for the strike that would end this human's life and buy his own freedom. Then Danny Carter's eyes opened. I was wondering when you would show up, the human said calmly. His voice was not frightened. He did not scream or try to run. He just looked at Zekthor with calm, steady eyes. Would you like some coffee?